Welcome everybody back to the Dragon's Lair. My name is Wade, and this is my show, Let's Talk 40K. We're talking 10th edition. So this is my second episode teaching you how to play 10th edition. Go ahead and check out the other episodes in the playlist. Let's jump in. The first episode was mustering armies. So what I'm starting with now on this second episode is teaching you how to get your miniatures to the tabletop. So muster armies, we already went over that in the first one. It's on page 55, 56. I got a whole video that goes through it. You're going to build your armies. Okay. Read mission objectives. So each mission is going to have objectives on how you win. What do you do to win? Usually it has a lot to do with objectives. And what I mean by that is objective markers. So sometimes there's 4, sometimes there's 5. Usually you have to stand on them. You have to be within so many inches of them. Sometimes they're sticky. That means you keep control of them even if you move away from them. And now we have the objective secured stat that's a part of the stat block. That objective secured is a representation of how good you are at controlling an objective. So something with objective secure 3 beats something with objective secure 1, for example. So read your mission. You and your opponent both read your mission. Create the battlefield. So create the battlefield. There's a lot of rules talking about that on pages 49 and 52. If you haven't already, go ahead and get your free rules. Warhammer.com, community. You can get a free rule book as well as all of the stat cards for what comes in the Leviathan box. The index isn't out yet, which gives you the rules for everything in the game all at once. But right there, you can have some good stuff to start with. Creating the battlefield. There's different trains of thought for, is the game going to be narrative? Is it going to be story driven? Is it going to be competitive? And there's all sorts of rules and preferences for those things. Sometimes it's based off of what you and your opponent have that's available to you. There are a lot of great companies out there. I have a lot of Death Ray design. Their terrain, I got a lot of buildings. I got some really cool Necron shield generator walker things. I got a big building that my wife got me that's really cool from them. I got a lot of cool terrain from them. Go ahead and check them out. So anyways, you want to make it fair. You and your opponent set things up. A lot of times, you set up a piece, they set up a piece. You use big stuff, you use small stuff. You use a variety. You use craters, you use ruins, you use walls. Try to have a variety of stuff. But also try to be cool, agree with your opponent, take turns. Leave room for monsters and vehicles to move past things or through things. Really talk about it. I find it's best if you ask questions. So like if they put down a building, you can be like, hey, is that ruins? Like, what are we going to treat that? And whatever it is, you guys just need to agree on it. Sometimes when you go to play tournaments, they have all that stuff set up ahead of time. The table is static. The terrain is on it where the terrain is going to be, and the terrain is already decided. So keep that in mind as well. Determine attacker or defender. You're going to roll off. The winner has to be the attacker. The winner is the attacker. So that's a different thing that a lot of people aren't used to. So chalk that up to one of the differences. Declare battle formations. So this is where you're going to say, hey, this leader is attached to this unit. Hey, this unit is in that transport. Hey, this unit I'm going to hold in reserve. That is the step that you do all that. So also keep in mind, if you haven't seen already, certain leaders can only be attached to certain units. So for instance, the Neurotyrant can only go with Tyrant Guard or Neurogaunts. So keep that in mind. Deploy armies. Each mission will tell you how to deploy your armies. A lot of times it is one then the other. So you set up one, your opponent sets up one, you set up one, your opponent sets up one. But let the mission tell you, because the mission is also going to have certain rules. It'll also tell you how your deployment zone is. So the next video I'm going to do after this is all about the mission itself. So I'll show you deployment zones and objective markers and all that stuff. So each one of these videos is meant to build on the previous one and give you all the information you need to play a game. Determine the first turn. So this is where you're going to roll off again. Each mission will tell you how to determine which player has the first turn. I'm sorry. I don't know why I didn't read that. Anyways, so look at the mission. Number 7. Look at the mission. It will tell you. Resolve pre-battle rules. I assume scouts and deep strikers, not deep strikers, but scouts and things that deploy forward, things like that, infiltrate. That might be handled there as good examples, possibly. Begin the battle. So you're going to start the first battle round and then the first turn. So if you're new and you haven't juggled this before, there's a battle round and then there's a turn. So in the battle round, both players will take their turns. A lot of times we talk about it as top of the turn as the first player or bottom of the turn as the second player. So you're going to begin the battle. You're going to start taking turns, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until the game is over. How do you know if the game is over? Well, number 10 says, each mission will tell you when the battle ends. This will typically be after a set number of battle rounds have been completed or when one player has achieved a certain victory condition. So the missions will also tell you the victory conditions. Go ahead and read that mission thoroughly. A lot of times it pays to have it printed off or on an app or something. The system of cards that you're going to get with the Leviathan box is going to sort all that out. And as I understand it, the system of cards that comes with the Leviathan box will also have secondary objectives. So you'll know your primary objectives from step 2. But as I understand it, the cards are going to have secondary objectives as well. Things that you'll recognize like assassinate or bring it down, grind them down, things like that. So then it'll also tell you when you score. So the mission will tell you when you score. Sometimes it's in your command phase. Sometimes it's if you're the person who goes second, it will probably be at the end of your turn, end of your last turn. That's pretty normal stuff. Number 11, determine the victor. So like I've said before, the mission will tell you this is how you score points, this is when you score points. And as you're scoring them, write them down. Tournaments will have like a scorecard sheet. You write it down when you get it. You can use dice. You can write it down. You can do all sorts of stuff. I write it down. I write it down on a sheet of paper, but then I have a die that recognizes the number. I'll hash mark it, but then I'll have a die so I can see it easily from a couple feet away. But that's just me. I'm weird. I have all sorts of dice rules and things that I follow. Like I said, each one of these videos is meant to build on the previous one. So in the previous one, it was all about mustering your army, how to get an army, what is an army made up out of, and what kind of stuff goes into it. This is how to get them on the table. The next video is going to be how missions work, how you win, and the mechanics of that. So I'm having a great time doing these videos. Once again, I am teaching you how to play 10th as I am teaching myself. So I'm reading this and studying this. It's super cool that we got a rule book out early because we're still about 2 weeks away at this point. And I'm really excited to be a part of 10th edition as it comes out. So we here at the Dragon's Lair understand that you are probably a pretty busy person. You probably have relationships with adults, maybe some kids, husband, a wife, spouse, a friend. You probably have school and work and dogs and all sorts of things in your life. Basically, I'm trying to say that your time is very valuable, and we appreciate your time. So thank you for spending your time here with us at the Dragon's Lair.